Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? This is Mia Hall TV. I am here to do another episode of Brown Girls Glow Live. Thank you for joining us. So, today we have a very special guest that is going to be joining us soon, Miss Darlene Williams, also known as Professor Dee, but I will call her Darlene today. All right, so welcome for those of you who have not joined us before. I want to tell you a little bit about what Brown Girls Glow Live is all about. Brown Girls Glow Live is a television show and web series that highlights women in their careers that were once young girls with dreams. All right? And so we highlight women of color to talk about their careers and their advice for their younger selves or people just like them. So today I have, like I said, Professor Dee, and she is going to join us. Professor Darlene, I have her saved on my phone as Dee, so that's why I keep on calling her Dee. Hello, there she is.
Hi, Mia. We did it. We did it.
We did it. We did it. We made it. It was a long time coming, but we made it. Yeah,
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm on the mend. I'm getting
Okay.
better. I'm not where I need to be, but I'm not where I could be.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Glad to see you smiling and Oh, excuse me.
God bless
Pardon me.
you.
Thank you. So, yeah, you look healthy. I know that you're
Thank
still
you.
in healing mode, but
Yes.
definitely praying for that whole recovery process for sure.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to speak. I know
Yes.
that, we got to meet at shout out to Dr. Nicola,
Yes, yes, yes.
who
She is so fabulous.
yes, who hosted the Girls Who Brunch tour in New York City. So I was happy to join you there and also get to purchase your book. So I can't wait to talk more about that.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. So, I want to help the people that are joining. We said we're talking about literacy, we're talking about being an author, and we're talking about the Black Authors Festival. So I just want to know from you off the jump, if
Yes.
somebody has an idea that they've been sitting on for a long time, and that idea is a book, what advice would you give them to go just from thinking about it in their head to accomplishing it?
Well, for one, as an educator, I believe that before you um, embark upon your goals, you should get as much information as possible. So you should be as knowledgeable about whatever it is that you're doing as possible. Like no one outside of your field should know more than you about what it is you're embarking upon and what you love to do, right? So you should have this relentless drive to acquire knowledge about what it is so that you can solidify your foundation as much as possible. So I would say do your research. Find out, why is this the thing that I want to do, and how can I be my absolute best at doing it?
Mm. Absolutely. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So do your research, guys. Do your research, guys, and women. Make sure that you do that before you do anything. All right. So now where did your author journey begin? Because I know you have several books now under your belt.
Right.
I want to know, I know I've seen the higher level method. I've seen, you
Yes.
have letters to your younger self. I've seen, the book that I got was for young women and teaching them, how to be a lady and things like that. So,
Yes.
where did your author journey begin?
You know what? I don't even, I know as I can't even remember how young I was. I always wanted to write a book, but I never did because I thought, that was for other people. I didn't think it was for me because I didn't know anyone who was an author. So I always had little books, and I had little I would take Mead composition books and write in them and put sections in them. And it was one book and another book. And those were my books, but no one knew about them.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I got older that I realized, you know what, you can write a book and you should. And once I got started, I just didn't stop. I stopped for a period of time. Like I wrote my book for girls, How to Be a Young Lady. That was under my Inner Beauty Solutions imprint, and that was a total etiquette program for girls.
Mm.
And after I didn't do that any longer, then I began to um, during the pandemic, I wanted to do something. Like the pandemic was horrible in the respect that so many people lost their lives, and prayers out to families and things like that. And it really shifted our world. But for
Yes.
me, I had been saying for the longest, I was saying, oh my gosh, I wish God would just stop the world and let me get off because I
Mm.
have so many things I need to do. So I feel like it
Wow.
was also a blessing because not only did I get a chance to clean out closets and cabinets, but
Mm-hmm.
I went back and I got certifications. I started, anthology projects. I I just rocked that free time when the world had literally stopped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
you got to watch what you ask for because you may get it. Aside from all of the atrocities, but you got to try to pull out the good from every negative, right? So that good part of it for me was that I really had an opportunity to stop the world, get some things done, and do some things that I had always been dreaming about doing. Now I had participated in an anthology prior to that, but to be the lead author of one was just really fascinating for me.
I love that. So you started that during the pandemic.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So tell me about that. So I know that that you are certified in a few areas, and also that you got a certification from Harvard. I saw as well.
Yes. Yes. Because I love to talk, so I said, why don't I put a spin on it, right? So rhetorician is nothing but a fancy word for somebody who loves to talk.
I love that. I love that. Okay, well, listen, now you're an expert in it, so you know what I mean. So I love that. But yeah, so before you talk about the anthology, because you had the etiquette program for young women first,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then, and then during the pandemic, you said, okay, let me talk to older celebrity women about writing letters to their younger self. So take me, how did you come about starting the younger women's program? Let's start there.
So, okay, the Younger Woman's Program is because, so many times I hear people talking about young people and how they need to do a thing, particularly our girls, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like instead of pointing the finger, do something about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, let's do something about it. If we don't like the way our young girls are behaving, then let's give them a blueprint. And, I wanted to talk to them also about many things that for me came within my household. It came from, my mom, my aunts, grandparents, my father, my mentors,
Yep.
right? Uh, and also our neighbors growing up. So we had women in the neighborhood who could tell you, girl, don't sit with your legs open. And what did you do? You closed your legs, and there was no back talk. That's not the case now, right? You might have to have a problem with the mother if you say something to the daughter, even if it's wrong, whether you know them or not. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, you know what? Let's put it in the form of a book. Let's put it in the form of an interactive book. And also, let's live on the edge. Let's make it Christian based. Let's also live a little more on the edge and not even talk about safe sex. Let's talk about abstaining altogether and put a biblical spin on it. And I have to tell you, I caught so much flack for
I'm
that.
sure you did. I'm
But
sure you
it's
did.
okay because I'm up for it.
Yeah.
I'm for all of that, right?
Yeah, but right.
Yeah, it's like
Wait.
that. Threaten me with a good time.
Uh-huh.
So but when I really understood that it was a problem was when I was invited to come to a medical fair and vend my book because they thought it was for girls, and they had seen something in there about sex, so they automatically assumed that I was going to be talking about condoms and things like that. And
Right.
when I explained to them that no, that those were not options, the option I selected was abstinence, because that is a form of safe sex, right? Because it's the
Right.
safest form.
Right, exactly.
And we're talking about girls, right? We're talking about girls age 8 to 18. So they then declined the offer.
Mhm.
They took back the offer and said that that was not an appropriate form
Wow.
of safe sex. And I wrote them a letter to express how, because it's not about me, it's about the girls. And these were girls in marginalized communities. So I wrote them a
Mhm.
really nice letter to let them know that they are doing our children a disservice rather than a service by not giving them all of their choices.
Right. Like, hello, that is an option.
Right. But that's when I realized what we're up against,
Right.
right? Because it was a medical, and it was a big medical institution located in Brooklyn.
Mm. Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. But you not only wrote the book, but you also had a program. How what did
Yes.
that entail?
So the program entailed me, so churches,
Okay.
libraries, schools,
Okay.
organizations, Girl Scouts, things like that. They would hire me to come in, disseminate the books, and have a talk. And some of them would focus on certain things because of course the book is too lengthy to go through the whole book for a program, but they had certain areas that they wanted to focus on. So if it was etiquette, we would talk about etiquette. If it was um, I have a piece in there about how to take care of your body from a
Mm-hmm.
healthy perspective, because I am a vegetarian, and I
Mm-hmm.
am very much into herbs. I sat under Dr. Sabi,
Okay.
Queen Afua, Gary Null, back before they were buzzwords and buzz
Mm-hmm.
names, right? So there's some things that I have held true and subscribed to for a very long time. So I would talk to them from that perspective, and I would have them come in, and I would have them do different role playing, fill out forms, work in the book, because the book is interactive and you can personalize it. There's a journal in the back. There is a child development chart in the back, and it's for parents to help the parents interact and talk about hot topics in a manner that makes it easier than to just cold do it and come out with it, and your kids are looking at you like, I don't want to talk to you about that. But when you have
Right.
a book that explains it and you have something to write down, so those programs would do that. And I've had sororities that would contract me to do a thing, and I would take the girls to a natural market and show them how to pick out certain foods, how to look for fake fruit as opposed to real fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of folks like seedless grapes and oranges, and that's fake food. Any
Mm-hmm.
fruit that does not have a seed is fake, period.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't like to hear that, but it is the truth. And
Now you gotta tell the truth.
it has no nutritional value,
Mm.
right? In fact, it had the value that it has is null and void, and it does more harm than it does good. So, young girls and their parents didn't know things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about educating our girls so that, because here's the deal: women are the birthing canal from which all life form flows. So when you educate a girl, you educate a woman, you educate the world, because we are everyone's first teachers. So when we have solid knowledge, we then put our children in a position to have a footing that's solid. Doesn't mean they won't make mistakes, doesn't mean any of that, but it just means that you set them up in a way that if they were not solidified, their start would be different. It would be a false start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. I love that. When you educate a girl, you educate a world. Yep,
Right?
exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right. And then, I know that, so from there, not from there, I don't know if it was directly after the pandemic happened and then you decided to do this anthology, but what made you want to do the anthology during the pandemic?
Well, because I had participated in an anthology, and
Okay.
I absolutely loved the experience. But there were
Okay.
some things that I would have done differently. So you can't complain about other people's things. You have to do it the way you see fit, right?
Right.
And so I wanted to do, and I'm sure there's some folks who said, well, you know what, I would like to do, hers was good, but or maybe not, but I want to do some things differently. And that's fine because we all can do things differently. And I just wanted to do some things differently. And I also wanted to, for me, it was selfish in that I love tapping into women's brains because we are so smart. I think all people are smart, but
Mhm.
women, we are forced to be smart because again, we are everyone's teacher. So it's not
Yep.
just incumbent upon us, right? We're
Right.
always looking out for our children. And if we don't have children, we have adopted children from the neighborhood, from our families. We're always teaching. So I love tapping into women to find out, how should I be doing something, or how do you do something, or what made you do a thing? Because then that helps to elevate me as well. And I just like learning. So
Mhm.
that's really why I did it. And I tapped into my, I call her my big sis, Casey Duke, and I
Mhm.
asked her to write the foreword, and she said yes. And it was it was amazing. And the first one wasn't about what would I tell my younger self. The first one was how to master your life and business goals.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
business and life goals, I should say. That was the way of the title. You master your business and life goals. And I
Mm.
had professional women who they had an array of situations where they were counted out,
Mm.
but you couldn't tell that by their titles,
Okay. Okay.
right? Because they grew past whatever that stigma was to get to who they became. And many times we see Dr. So and so, or we see Professor this, or the mayor this, or whatever their fancy title is, but we don't know what they went through to become who they are.
That part. Mm-hmm.
We see the after effects, but that journey, sometimes it's so grueling. And so many times I tell young girls, I say, you want it. First of all, the Bible says doesn't cut, don't covet, right? And that's
Yeah.
for a reason.
Right.
Because, for instance, I'll use Oprah. I don't know her, but people say, oh, I wish I was Oprah. Well, then that would mean you would have to be raped, you would have to be abandoned by family members, you would have to be poor, you would have to have people tell you what you cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
And now you'd have to have the courage to do all of those things,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So don't covet and don't wish to be someone. If you want to be great, then accept what comes before you on your path to becoming great.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's not always pretty by far.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I love that. I love that. Okay, so it sounds like you got a lot of takeaways from your anthologies.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's
So then
awesome.
I decided I wanted to do several anthologies, and there was only supposed to be one with what would I tell my younger self, but I had women who were requesting two chapters. I'm like, you can't have two chapters in the book. And they were like, well, you're gonna have to do another one because I got a lot to say. So
Right.
now we're on our fourth iteration of what would I tell my younger self.
Okay. Wow. Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. It took on a life of its own because again, women, we've endured so much. We're smart. We're looking to be innovative and do new things. So we have a lot to say.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And I love that, part of your focus is literacy. And I definitely wanted to speak to you about that because, you even speak about the statistics and, things like that. So what made you passionate about literacy and what are your goals in the literacy fight?
So I feel like and my brain is wired differently. So I feel like God has this assembly line and he puts things in everybody, right? So when he was creating me, I was on his assembly line. He said, I'm going to put this in Darlene. Because my mother says when I was very young, she had to put me in preschool because I used to go to the window every day and cry that I wanted to go to school.
Okay.
As a result, I became first generation college, right?
Mm.
So I knew that I always wanted to go to school. I knew that I always wanted to teach. I wanted to write. And I just love reading. Like I would read while I was eating on the back of the cereal box, and I everything made in China. Had to read everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right, from the
And
top to
I
the bottom.
wasn't, yeah, I wasn't satisfied until I read everything.
Okay.
So I've always had a love for reading. Don't know where it came from. I believe it was from that God's assembly line, and he just
Okay.
implanted that in me.
Uh-huh.
And the thing that I found is as a teenager, a lot of, kids were out hanging out, doing whatever. I was in my parents' backyard reading books. Like I was
Mm.
reading Black Boy by Richard Wright, Black Robes, White
Mhm.
Justice, A Choice of Weapons by Gordon Parks. I was reading some heavy stuff. I
Okay.
was reading some Judy Blume stuff too now. Forever was my stuff.
Okay, okay, you had the balance.
Yeah, but I just always, and the thing that I found was even before I got to the age to be able to travel, I was able to travel to different places and meet different people
Through the books.
through reading.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is so important. I feel like literacy is our passport in life. It's our passport. We get to go in other people's brains to find out what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and take what we need for ourselves to help shape and mold who we want to become. So
Yeah.
literacy for me is so important. And along my travels, I have seen where schools in marginalized communities have had uh, textbooks that would say things like Egypt is not a part of Africa. So if
Mm.
you've never been there, you don't know. If you've
Mm-hmm.
never read anything about it, you don't know.
And these days, and I know you're working on the, banned books too, things like that. They're taking out whole books on,
Right,
Africa
right,
and subjects of the diaspora. So it's like it's even
right.
harder now.
Right. So I am saying, it's incumbent upon, like, when you know better, you do better, right? And it's
Yeah.
incumbent upon each of us that what you know, you have to share what you know. Because what I know is limited. What you know is limited, right? But when you share what you know and what I share what I know, then we expand a little further. And now you couple that with everybody else that you come in contact with. Wow. And it blows my mind because one of the things I realized is the more I know, I realize how much I don't know.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, how come I didn't know that sooner? And I have to reel myself back in and say everything in its time
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much knowledge. I mean, just now in the last, we're about to embark on our fifth month of this year. I've learned so much from social media about Black history. And I told you I was reading Black Rose, White Justice when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
So
Back
I
in
thought I knew some stuff.
right.
I didn't know. I was only scratching the surface
Yes.
because the stuff that is available to us now from people all over from the World Wide Web, it blows my mind. So
Hmm.
now imagine if you could not read what you're missing out on.
Exactly. So that's why we gotta
We
fight.
got to do better. Yeah, we have to do better. And the other reason why I am big on literacy and authoring books is because we get to tell our own story. There's a vast difference between history and his story,
Yes.
right? And, the stories that have been told were by the conquerors. It's time that we hear stories from the conquered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before we are conquered.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it might prevent us from becoming conquered when
Exactly.
we tell our
Again,
stories, right?
because we was conquering before they was, conquering us. So yeah, colonizers.
Exactly. And here's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. When I learned about Frederick Douglass, I was empowered.
Mm-hmm.
Like he put some kind of battery in my back. Like it's so hard to wrap your brain around the fact that first of all, forget him for a moment.
Mm.
He was separated from his mother when he was a little boy.
Mm.
And his mother navigated in the night and found her son without a
Wow.
GPS,
Right.
without a cell
Yeah.
phone,
Powerful.
without a computer, without a telephone. Name some of the gadgets that we have now that we think we can't do without. That is some serious Holy Ghost power right there,
Absolutely. They were dependent on the Holy Spirit, and that was it, you know?
right?
And then it's
Because
mine. Yeah.
what do you
Gotta be smart for that.
and your relentless drive for progress. You know that's one of pastor's
Yep.
things, right?
Yep.
Relentless drive for progress, right?
Hmm.
She was determined to find her son, and she did.
Hmm.
And in that, he was illiterate and he finagled these white boys by giving them the scraps.
Uh,
He went to the poor white boys to give them the scraps so that they can teach him how to read.
mm,
He became so prolific that when I read his autobiography, I had to get a dictionary.
mm,
And I was teaching on the college level at that point.
mm. Yes.
So it's not specific to him.
Yeah.
You know, I think about my husband who also was ill. He was just as involved. He was illiterate. He taught
Mm,
himself how to read in prison.
mm.
And he came out. Oh, he got his GED, he tutored like 200 inmates and helped them get their GED.
Wow.
Came out, went to college and graduated summa cum laude with his master's.
Mm,
And then wrote curricula for all of the juvenile justice facilities across New York City, including Rikers.
mm.
Wrote a book, authored three award-winning independent films, started a clothing line, has a
Wow.
catalog of hip-hop music, was featured in National Geographic as the griot, and at that time he was the first and only one featured in National Geographic, and now is finishing his second master's at Columbia University.
Wow.
There's no way you can't tell me that literacy is not powerful.
Absolutely. Look at the doors that it opens.
And here's the other point I'll make about that. If it wasn't so powerful, they would not be trying to take it from us.
Absolutely.
Because they
Absolutely.
give us in plentiful and bountiful the things that are not good for us.
That's true. You got to think about that for sure. For sure. They're trying to take it away from us, trying to take
And
away our books, trying to take away the
yeah,
National Museum of African American History and
right.
Culture, like
But let me say
artifacts, like
this.
really.
They can try as they might. No one can erase us because if you erase us, you wipe out everybody.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank. Like it, love it, hate it, feel no way about it. The truth is the truth. And it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Wipe us out and you wipe out everybody.
They can't. They can't.
It
You're
can't be
right. They can't.
done. It
Yeah,
can't
they
be
can't.
done. It won't be done.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, I thank you for I thank you for the work that you are doing to make
Thank
sure
you.
that that is not done, and even to fight against it. To push back against it. So, with your love for books, with your love for literacy,
Yes.
you have started the Black Authors Festival
Yes.
in
Yes.
Sag Harbor. How? So I believe that I see how it came about, but really tell me, like, where did the idea, come from, and how did you develop it and launch your first event?
So here's the thing, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, this is what the people want to know. The people want
This is what the people want to know.
to know.
And I think I see one of my sorors on. I don't know that I know her, but I see DST, so I think she's a soror.
Uh-huh.
So uh, every year I would go to Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
And every year I would go to Martha's Vineyard. I would do various book signings at different libraries and areas around the vineyard.
Okay.
So I called a woman there who's very prominent there. She's native and hooked up with her and told her I wanted to do something around Black literacy. And I asked her if they had ever had anything of that before. And she said no. And I asked her if she would like to join forces with me and put something together. She said yes. It didn't quite work out.
Okay.
And sometimes people think that ideas are good, but they're better if they're their ideas.
Okay. Yep.
And it got kind of sketchy. So
Mm.
I said, you know what? Let me take it to where I have more power, more pull, because I grew up on Long Island. I
Okay.
grew up hanging out in Sag Harbor and Southampton, spending a lot of time through a good friend who now is my son's godmother. So I decided, let me take it to Sag Harbor. They now have something, on Martha's Vineyard, but that's a whole nother story. Long as we
Uh-huh.
get the work done, that's what matters. But
You're like, sure.
we know the creation and the
Right.
creator, right? So
Okay.
I take it because I just want to have something as an adult. Our society, I feel, makes it seem like once you get past a certain age, you're not supposed to have fun. Or if you are to
Mm,
have fun, you're supposed to have a certain kind of fun. And I don't want to have that kind of fun. Young people today, I don't want to have that kind of fun. But I do want to have
uh,
fun. I don't
yes,
want to work,
absolutely.
work, work. So I wanted to
Right.
do something that would be upscale, that would be fun, that would have purpose and meaning.
Okay.
It grew to be what it is now.
Nice. Love
Because
it.
here's the deal, Mia. When you're doing what God has for you, God is not messy. We are messy, right?
Yes.
My mother used to tell us, don't half-ass do anything because you will get in trouble. Either do it right or don't do
Mm,
it at all. She said, I
mm,
would prefer you not do it than to half-ass do it. God is not half-assed.
mm.
And
Yeah.
when he ordains something, he's going to give you the bells, the whistles, the this, the that, the all of the trimmings.
Yep.
And that's what he did.
I love it.
And when I tell you he has blown my mind, he has blown my mind
I
with this
love
Black
it.
Authors Festival.
I
So
love
it is
it.
really a blessing. Uh, each one has its own, I was looking for the first one to be a blueprint for what will come,
Okay.
and it's not because each one has its own personality.
Mm.
Each one gets bigger and better. The first year I had outdone myself and everyone was ranting and raving about it. The second year, Tamron Hall, Marcus Samuelson, Ralph McDaniels, and all of the folks we had all said yes. Blew my mind. This year, Sonny Hostin, Don Lemon, Alton Fitzgerald White, Kendis Gibson,
Harriet
Harriet
Coach. I
Cole.
love it. Yep.
Harriet is like everybody's auntie, Essence auntie,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
know, um, we have Mark Mariel from
Yes.
the Urban League.
Urban League. Yep.
I have been a staunch supporter of the Urban League for many years. My son grew up through the Urban League.
Yes. Urban
Um,
League helped me out when I was in California. I didn't know anybody. I joined the Urban League. That's what
the
plugged me
Urban
in.
League is the
So yeah.
place to be, right?
Yep.
Attica J. Torrance, who is an award-winning author and filmmaker.
Awesome.
We have Cheryl Wills, New
Yes.
York
New York
One.
one.
She's
Yeah. I love her
everybody's New
too.
York auntie.
Yep.
You know what I'm
And a
saying?
great author. Yeah. So.
she and just she is so loving and kind. I feel like I forgot someone. We have a this is our first year that we have our youth author.
Mm,
We also have Pamela McBride from AARP, Sisters of AARP.
okay.
And when I tell you, it just blows my mind because I
Mm,
love being around intelligent people. I love extracting from them and learning
yes.
from them because
Yes.
that's how we get better, right? It's not
Mm,
about tearing people down who have a certain platform. It's about tapping into their expertise.
yeah.
That's what this is about. We're also working with elected officials to draft legislation to
Mm,
ban book banning.
okay. That's
I
awesome.
am
Yes.
happy to report that August will be declared as Black Authors Festival Month
Nice.
on the East
Congratulations.
Coast. Thank you. I'm so happy about
Wow.
that. We
Yeah.
just added our official
Oh,
DJ Don
yes.
Quick.
Yes, I did see
Oop
that.
Roo, he's an
Awesome.
Omega. So and we have a
Quick get the
live
party
band.
going.
Yeah, we have a live band, Never Lose Touch. They are amazing.
Okay.
So we
That's gonna
have
be
the
fun.
Oh, it's going to be dynamite. We have the all access VIP, then we have regular VIP, and we have general admission and
Okay.
after party. On Sunday, we have a film screening,
Okay.
and my husband will be screening his shorts. Nicole Johnson, phenomenal. I can't even get it out. I love her so much.
I love it.
From Pix 11.
Okay. Okay.
She's coming out with a documentary that she's going to be screening. Attica is
Nice.
going to be screening.
Okay.
We have a young uh, filmmaker, Tevin Foster,
Okay.
and I cannot not mention. Oh, I forgot to mention Kendis Gibson from Pix 11 will also be an honoree,
Okay. Awesome.
and the hostess is his co-anchor, the phenomenal Ariane LeBeau.
Okay.
She is phenomenal and has a phenomenal story.
Awesome.
And we are just looking to do some amazing things.
Yes. Okay.
And Ralph
Awesome.
McDaniel is one of our community advisors now.
Okay.
So
Nice. So
he went from
he's
being
on
an
board.
honoree to an advisor.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So it sounds like it's going to be a time early August. Is it August 2nd?
August 2nd, the first
First
Saturday
Saturday.
in August. Yes.
Okay. Second and third then, right? Because
Yes.
Saturday and
So,
Sunday.
and here's what we're doing. We're raising money to give back to two nonprofits, A Father's Love Personal Development and Community Services nonprofit, and to the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center. The Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center is in Bridgehampton, and the executive director is the phenomenal Bonnie Cannon.
Mm,
She does amazing work out there with the marginalized children on the East End,
mm-hmm.
and she has a great program. She has a state of the art facility, and we have Crayola coming in to do some things with her children,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
we have Art in the Park doing some wonderful things with them. It's just going to be a phenomenal weekend.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to it. I cannot
Yes,
wait. I
yes.
cannot
So you're
wait.
going to bring the podcast out there, I hope.
I need to. I need to. Brown Girls Go Live. We go
You
to
listen.
recording.
You need to send everything over to Penny, and so she can put you on the media list and get that podcast out there, and let's do it.
All right, bet. That would be awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a good
Yes.
time, an exciting time. I'm looking forward to it, for sure. I did want to ask you before we go,
Okay.
just about when you were, we really didn't get to talk about like, your experience, as a young lady, right? Your
Okay.
experience as a high school girl. You said you grew up on Long Island. So I
Yes.
want to just know, like, what do you feel like was the biggest thing that helped you to navigate high school and really, like graduate and be able to, flourish?
So I have to take it back, Pat, younger, because I was born and raised in Brooklyn until I was about 9 years old. So I grew up on a playground where we didn't have the monkey bars and the swings. Everybody was just in like a yard, a prison yard. And we didn't have uniforms. I went to a public school for a little bit, and everybody was forced to just do whatever. So there was a lot of fighting.
Okay.
And in order to not be beat up, you had to beat someone up,
Okay.
right? So I was bullied and I turned into a bully. My
Mm,
parents then put me into Catholic school
mm,
to help tame that edge.
mm.
And then they decided they were going to move to the suburbs of Long Island. So
Okay.
I went out to the suburbs with this little rough chick from Crown Heights, and my mother
Okay.
was, and now we have monkey bars and swing sets, and my mother was like, "Baby, you don't have to fight anymore. You don't
She's
have to
like, it's
fight for the
okay.
swing. Just
Mm,
wait your turn." Right? She had to have this talk with me, and my
mm,
dad was like, "Listen, you can't break another storm door. You don't just push the door open. Talk about you going outside to fight. That's not what we're doing." So
wow.
I brought that whole persona because that's what I knew.
Mm,
And when I got to Long Island, and I my parents were talking to me and telling me a thing, and I saw a thing, and I grew up thankfully in a neighborhood that was extremely supportive. then I began to change a thing. And I had friends where we had healthy competition. So we
Mm.
were all looking to get good grades. We were looking to do the right thing because somebody's parent, because if someone's parent talked to you outside of something that was good, that was a problem. And you got teased about that. So that was a
Mhm.
no-no. And if it got back to your parents, then that was even worse. So our thing was to be good, to do a thing. Did we have fights? We had fights, we had disagreements, but it was so unremoved from the way it was in Brooklyn. Like in
Mhm.
Brooklyn, my mother had to come pick me up from school every single day. I still remember the principal's name was Miss Washington because
Mhm.
every day Miss Washington was threatening me because I was fighting.
Wow.
So I took my own experience. Now, here's the other thing. I was extremely overweight
Mm.
and I was very tall. So in
Mm.
third grade, I was taller than everyone, including the teacher.
Mm. Okay.
So
Wow.
now my maiden name started with A. So back then, I don't know what they're doing in schools now, but back then you sat according to alphabetical order. So
Okay.
here you
Oh,
have this overweight little girl
oh no.
who's also tall,
Mm.
who had big pigtails, and people were like they couldn't see over me. They couldn't see on the sides of me for my hair and my body. You had to either be beat up or beat
Mhm.
up. And I was
Mhm.
on both sides of the coin.
Oh wow.
But here's the thing that people fail to realize about bullies and the bully. They share a commonality in that they both suffer from low self esteem.
Yep.
But the focus is based on only those who are bullied, not the bully. And we have to not pay attention to the bullied, but we have to also give attention to those who are who are bullying, who's inflicting that pain on others, because they're suffering too, and it's a cry, it's a plea for something. And for me, it was low self-esteem. And the thing is that here you have this black girl growing up in the suburbs in a black community. Her parents are telling her she's beautiful, but I put the emphasis and focus on what the naysayers are saying.
Mm.
So we have to make sure that our daughters know where to place the focus because that will then be the catalyst for their actions.
Mm.
And the catalyst for my actions were based on my focal point, which was the people who were calling me fat and big headed and all of those things that they were calling me.
Right.
So when we get into the psyche of our girls
Mhm.
to help them understand that this is where you put the placement, then their actions will change.
Mm.
And then when you do that and you couple it with more and more, then they too have an environment that's supportive of that. But
Yes.
here's the thing about bullying that a lot of people don't know, and it mostly happens with girls because boys aggress through physical, right? They will fight, get it over with, and either not speak or speak, but it's over.
Right.
Girls aggress through their relationships.
Mm.
And relational aggression, or RA, is the term. And I've
Mm.
studied it for many years. And what
Mm.
happens with relational aggression is that it's intangible. So because you can't touch it and you
Mhm.
can't grasp it and do something with it, it goes undetected. And when it goes undetected, what then happens is the teacher will say, if you go to the teacher and say, teacher so and so, Darlene called me big head, the teacher is probably going to say, Mia, please just sit down.
Right.
Or
Mm.
Mia, stop complaining.
Yep. Exactly.
Or Mia, leave Darlene alone. You know how she is. She's a troublemaker anyway. Don't sit next to her.
Mm.
But Mia is having a problem with this because guess what? Your brothers, in joking with you, might have said, oh, Mia, you big head. So now I'm not in your household and I've said it. So it confirms for you that maybe my head is big
Mm.
and something's wrong with having a big head. Oh my God. Now that further adds to my low self-esteem. And
Mm.
now the fact that the teacher has done nothing about it, and maybe your parents haven't done nothing about it either because they done said to your brother, stop teasing your sister, just stop it. Mia, stop being so sensitive, girl. So you're left carrying the burden of how you feel, but nobody has done anything about it.
Mm,
And now I've used that as an example, but imagine all of the other things that we as girls are sensitive about and
right.
people, right?
Just
So now it goes on and on and on. Now Mia grows up having, having these feelings about being a big head. And now when she gets grown, she gets some power. She then becomes aggressive through her relationships. And now what happens, she'll tell friends, "Oh, don't talk to her because I don't like her." And then you now talk bad about other people to other people, and you aggress toward them, and now they either don't want to be bothered with you or you don't want to be bothered with them.
a mess.
But nothing, it perpetuates an ugly thing. So one of the things that I focus on is relational aggression, right? So
Okay.
deal with the things that you don't like,
Mm,
and deal when you have the dyad, the two friends, or the triad, the three friends. Deal with that within that circle,
yeah.
and deal with it effectively. Make it tangible and point out that it's not right, and here's why. So that
Mm,
now girls at an early age will get to understand the actions, and how their actions have an adverse effect on others, and how their words have an adverse effect on others. Because
mm,
we come from the era of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
mm.
That's the furthest thing from the truth. That's one of the biggest lies told.
Right. I don't know
Some of
who
our
came up with
biggest
that.
some of the biggest things that we're dealing with to this day are based on words.
Absolutely.
So relational aggression is a form of bullying. It's an old form of bullying with girls
Mm.
that has just been brought to the light back in, I want to say, the 90s by the late great Dr. Nikki Crick.
Okay. Okay.
And it's something that, I've been working tirelessly with, trying to get into schools and get into girls programs so that the facilitators will get to see that we've got to put a stop to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we witness our mothers aggressing relationally.
Mm.
So we think it's right.
Right. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Wow. Well, okay. I didn't know that. That's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as far as, when you growing up and that you had that, those
Oh, absolutely.
experiences.
There was this girl when I was, I guess it was elementary school. So I want to say it was about fifth grade. And her name was Tanya. And I thought she was so pretty. And I wanted to sit by her every day. I would make my way to sit by her. And it was a problem if I couldn't sit by her. And one day she didn't come to school. One day turned into 2 days. 2 days turned into a week. Finally, when she came back to school, I was like, "Where were you? How come you?" Because in my mind, like, I'm dependent on this osmosis process, right? Because I want to sit next to you.
Right.
And she didn't come to school because, as it turned out, she was a foster kid.
Mm.
And her siblings, she had many siblings. Her siblings all had different foster parents. And that week was the only week that they could all come together. And that is when I wasn't able to verbalize it the way I am now, but that was when it clicked for me that, you know what? The ugly duckling felt like, I'll take being ugly because I didn't have to make an appointment to fight with my siblings,
Mm.
to love on them. I
You
had
never
my
know.
parents.
Never know what somebody else is going through for sure.
Never try to be like somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So it was an epiphany for me. I didn't know what to do with that epiphany, but it
Mm-hmm.
was an epiphany for me that I didn't want that anymore,
Yeah.
because I didn't want, for me, what I was going for wasn't worth what I would have to trade for that.
Right. Right. Is
Right.
that
So, mhm.
I was gonna say, is that what you would tell your young, like if you was to tell your 16-year-old self something, is that what you would tell her to don't not compare yourself to someone
Oh,
else?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that's what I always
Absolutely.
ask people. I was like, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? I know you already had a whole four anthologies on it, but I always ask that. So
Yeah, and and by the time I was in high school, I was totally different in high school. In high school, I had found myself. I was not completely, but I was so much better in high school. Elementary school and junior high school, I was just a mess. But by the time I had gotten to high school, oh please, I was playing sports, and it's
yeah,
good
we
for
didn't even
girls
get
to
to
get.
talk about your volleyball coaching and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because I
good
was,
for
I
girls.
grew up an athlete.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What did you play?
I played basketball, softball, tennis, but yeah, like sports was really like what I feel like taught me the principles of life, and like other than Christ, like what really helped me to become disciplined and really go after my goals. So
Absolutely. Sports is it helps you with discipline, it helps you with self-esteem. And
yes.
it helps you to become a go-getter. It helps you to set goals and to knock those goals out the park, right? So that coupled with growing up with people who we had healthy competitions, it was like, no, I'm not a loser. What? I'm not
Right.
losing nothing.
Right, exactly. You want to win.
Yeah. Oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, so by the time I got to coach on the college level,
Hmm.
that I inherited a mess. Like that college, it's now defunct. It was a 2-year junior college in New York City.
Okay.
And they had never won anything. They didn't win championships. The school, they were like, you are our last ditch effort. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't do anything with this, we're getting rid of it. They didn't want to give me money for uniforms. The uniforms were cruddy. The
Mm.
equipment was cruddy. The school didn't have a gym. Before it was all said and done, they were renting out the Brearley House gym and the Ross School gym. We were
Um,
practicing there. We got a trainer, new equipment, new uniforms. We made it to the championship.
okay, okay. So you turn the you.
Oh, what? I'm not losing nothing I put my name on.
Yep. Yeah.
We
Okay.
may not win the top, but let me tell you something. You're gonna know that we were there.
Right. Right.
And BMCC and FIT were our rivals.
Okay.
They were the ones to beat,
Mm.
because they felt like our school were all of the schools in our league felt like we got 2 wins from this school.
Mm.
I was like, oh, not on my watch.
All right.
The coach from BMCC had to come over and dap me up, and he was like, from BMCC was a guy. He was like, oh man, and FIT, she was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, yeah, just give it up,
All
because
right. Good
those
one.
days are over.
Mm. I know that's right.
So
Uh,
yeah, I was like, we are not losing.
I love it. A winner. That's what
A
we talking
winner.
about,
And
man.
and
Growing, leading, overcoming, and winning.
and one of
Go
the things
girl.
that I wrote in one of my anthologies, in my chapter, I said that I'm a winner. And you know why, Mia? I'm not a winner because I said so first. It's because God said so. There are millions and millions of sperm that swim to the mother's egg, right?
Yeah.
That sperm does not have eyes, does not have ears. But the one that swims the fastest is the one that fertilizes the egg. That is the winning sperm. My father's sperm that fertilized my mother's egg that had me in it, that was God's message to say, I'm a winner.
Mm.
Before I could hear people say I'm not, before I
Mm.
could see things to say that I'm not, I was placed here to be a winner. And that's what I intend to do in anything that I put my hands to.
Mm.
So I welcome
Yeah.
anybody who wants to be on board with me. I
Yeah.
welcome anybody who tries to tell me otherwise, because the God that I serve is not a liar. He's not messy. He doesn't make mistakes. And he already said what he said. So I said what he said.
And that's on period. Okay.
No, no,
I love
that's
it.
exclamation.
Oh, exclamation point. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I know that's right.
Underscore
Yeah.
blinking lights.
Booyah, booyah. Okay, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I think that is a,
Thank you.
beautiful button to, put on that, a beautiful exclamation point to put on the whole interview. Let people know, let my community, my Brown Girls Glow, my Mia Hall TV community know how we can support you.
Yes, so please visit the website www.blackauthors.festival.com. Visit us, like us on Instagram at Black Authors Festival. Get your tickets. There are many ways to become involved. You can purchase any level of ticket. You can become a sponsor. You can become a vendor. You can also become an ambassador. We are looking for ambassadors. Ambassadors are folks who help us out behind the scenes, who help us set up, break down. They help serve food. They help with the registration. They help to serve as the person for our honorees. We have a bunch of opportunities. They're all listed on our website. If there's something that you don't see, please feel free to email us at nationalblackauthorsfestival@gmail.com. Mia,
Awesome.
thank you so much
Thank
for this
you.
interview. I look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing you again soon. Let's hang
Yes.
out. And
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
all the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best to you too. Y'all, everybody who joined, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today. Man, we'll see you next time. And until then, keep on glowing. All right,
Yes.
y'all. Have a
Good
good night.
night.
All right.